Do what you want or quit. Okay. This takes place back in 2014. I was the kitchen manager of a franchise of a novelty pizza chain that was brought to the West Coast from the Midwest. It was a fast casual type of place, and I was responsible for literally everything involving the back of house. Inventory, ordering, scheduling, training, cross-training, cooking, etc. The general manager, let's call him Dan, theoretically knew how to do the ordering and inventory and the vagaries of the menu items. But he was transferred from an entirely different restaurant. The franchisees owned a lot of different restaurants, and wasn't really familiar with much of anything. I say this not to overstate my own importance, but rather to highlight how one person was essentially the only one in the restaurant that could run the kitchen effectively. I was always begging the regional manager to let me train someone else in most of my duties. Never approved. Sorry for the long context. I worked the same hours every week, with the same days off. And since I wasn't making much, I decided to get a second job as a line cook at a small restaurant by the beach. I loved this job because it was so mind-numbing after stressful days at the pizza job. I had no real responsibilities aside from cooking whatever came up on my tickets and cleaning up at night. The way my schedule ended up, I was working about 70 hours a week between my two jobs and working every day. So Dan and I butted heads a lot at the pizza place because he had these ideas about how to improve efficiency, and I had a huge list of things to do and knew how to do them in the time I had available. I would pay lip service to him, and then just go about my day getting things done. Well, one day, we're short-staffed. I'm finishing up my inventory, getting ready to hand the order list over to Dan to place, because that was one of the things he thankfully knew how to do well. He tells me I need to stay late because he's run ragged in the front, and I need to place the orders, which takes about 2 hours minimum. The following conversation ensues. Me: no can do. Dan: my other job starts in an hour. Dan: well then call them and tell them you'll be late. Me: I'll be fired if I do that. So not gonna happen. Just put the purchase orders in later when it's slowed down. D: no. Either you stay and do it, or you can go to your other job and never come back. Me: okay, bye. Quote: I proceeded to rip up the inventory I spent 3 hours taking, clocked out, and went to my other job. I got frantic calls throughout the night and for the next few days from Dan and the regional manager asking me to come back, but I was overworking a corporate job. I asked for, and received, additional hours at my second job, and later that year decided to go to college instead of finding a new second job. I graduated with a bachelor's 2 years ago. That pizza place, and the other ones the franchisees opened, eventually closed because of a number of issues, poor management being just one of them. TL. Dr. General Manager gives me an ultimatum to either lose my second job or quit the current one. I quit. Ended up better for it. Edit for spelling. Well, thanks for the awards, y'all. People don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad managers. God, that must have felt good. Greater than and the vagrancies of the menu items. I know it's a typo or an autocorrect, but damn, that's funny. Fantastic. I had a nearly identical incident. I had been working at a movie theater for about 10 years and, like you, was a valuable employee. Really knew the ropes. Well, come 2012, theater went digital and I just really missed film a lot. So I started part-timing at the discount theater in town, even though I made sure to be nearly 100% available to my main theater. The boss got all huffy about it, calling it a conflict of interest against company policy. Yada yada. It really wasn't. They were like two different worlds in all aspects. Clientele, content, location, companies, etc. What worked at one definitely would not have worked at the other. Anyway, a few weeks of don't ask, don't tell go by, and suddenly he gets a wild hair up his ass and does the same, gives me the ultimatum. I could tell he really thought he had me in the bag. I called his bluff without hesitation. I'll never forget his stuttering, "Oh really? God, that was one of the best decisions of my life." Went full-time and then some at the discount house, completely taking the helm of the projection booth, which no one there wanted anything to do with or knew anything about. That was hands down the best job I ever had. These managers who think employee equals slave are awful. No dude, you don't own me. You can't make me stay past my scheduled hours. If I choose to accept your offer, I will. You can try and enforce me by saying you'll fire me if I don't stay, but that only hurts you, as I will still leave, but then you also lose me for good. I told it before, my job was something I enjoyed. Owner fired a technician, never hired another, so I did all the work. After about a year I decided to go back to college. I missed entrance exam previous year. The owner said it was waste of time and it doesn't matter, just continue what you are doing. That's when I decided to quit, when all my ducks are lined up. Told them to hire someone so that if need be I'll train my replacement. Obviously they didn't pay heed. They knew I was not financially in good position, so thought that I won't quit. Finally, once I passed entrance exam and secured admission, I quit. Last year my score was 8.5, best decisions I ever made. Wanted to score more, but exams got cancelled, otherwise my target was 9+. Owner called me begging to come back recently. Suggested giving up education. How are you going to pay fees and other expenses? I had started SIP for this and got really good returns. My parents offered to pay my fees but have it covered. Managed the store for slight increased payment, because he was paying 2 people to do what I managed and spending twice what he used to pay me. Fuck you. Never coming back to work for you. Edit exams cancelled due to current conditions rather than written impracticals. It was MCQ. The best revenge is living well. Good for you, up. Greater than I was responsible for literally everything involving the back of house. Inventory, ordering, scheduling, training, cross-training, cooking, etc. The general manager wasn't really familiar with much of anything. I was working about 70 hours a week between my 2 jobs, and working every day. The boss needs competent, overworked employees, but the workers don't need the boss. A bluff like that only works if the opponent doesn't know how essential he is. Greater than the inventory I spent 3 hours taking. Did it always take that long? Satisfying. I truly wish from the bottom of my heart that everybody had this ability. It makes me angry knowing lots of people are stuck in awful jobs because they can't afford to leave. Probably a good thing to quit and move on. Sometimes your effort is not appreciated until you are gone. The lesson: never give an ultimatum unless you are okay with the outcome, no matter what it will be, because the other person may call your bluff. I was working retail at a chain electronics store, always playing game with hours. I had a second job that was just late night weekend stuff, and one day a project extended another week. I called and said give my hours to others. They'd rather have 8 people working 4 hours a day, 7 days, than 7 people with meaningful hours. Manager said it's a temp job and won't go anywhere, and come back or I'll be fired. So I quit. I met someone at the temp gig that was also a temp. He went to a consultant agency, got me in, and now I'm on site with the first client I was assigned. Full-time employee, 9 years now. Nice setup, pay, relocated me, etc. I've worked a few odd jobs here and there, and by far the worst paying. Retail. The worst experience. Retail. The moment of satisfaction and face of Dan will be like Omega backquote. It takes balls to do what you did. I'm so glad it worked out for you. Congratulations on bettering yourself. You did well. I quit a job because I'd been there 9 years and couldn't get promoted. The whole project I worked on collapsed behind me within 6 months of my departure. You know, this reminds me of a situation I had in my past. I was doing commissioned sales and making decent change at it. While I was job hunting, I had put in an application at GameStop as a lark. I didn't hear from them for months, and one day out of the blue I got a call offering me a temp position. Turns out they had a full-time guy going back to school, so they needed coverage on 2 nights. No biggie. Talked to my boss at my sales job. No conflict of interest. So my 2 regular days off were my GameStop nights. Now I want to say I was this wizard at selling, but in my main job I was regularly near the top of the sales charts. And when I was at GS, well, people don't walk in there unless they want to part ways with their cash. I became the store's top performer. Not really hard to do at GameStop. Just saying. Even though I was only working 2 nights a week. I need to talk about pay here for just a second. GameStop was paying me minimum wage. My work for those 2 nights made for a $100 or less paycheck. My sales job paid the bills. I was regularly pulling in $2,000 plus paychecks. You should see where this is going. So the GS manager kept putting me on the schedule, even though my availability was just for the 2 nights. I told the store manager, sorry, it can't happen, and she'd usually take me off the schedule but whine and complain about how I wasn't being flexible. The final straw was when some sports title launched, probably Madden because it was in August, and she scheduled me for a Saturday shift, one of my busiest, most profitable days at my sales job. I told her no, and she replied with, look, you need to get your priorities straight and figure out what job you should be focusing your time on. If you don't show on Saturday, don't bother coming back. I trust you'll make the right choice. I did. It wasn't the one she expected. I've worked in hellaciously busy restaurants before. Proud of you, mate. I'm now a carpenter and life is just so much better. Restaurant jobs are stupidly high stress and low paying if the place isn't run by top-notch management. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.